think I'm live. There we go. Okay, so live on what looks like YouTube and X and not on LinkedIn because that seems to have died again. I don't know why. It doesn't like me. Um let's chat for a couple minutes waiting for folks to come in onto the stream. There goes the notification. So I am live on the YouTube. Let people find the stream and come on here. YouTube Studio has a new interface here. I can see the simulcast option for streaming live on the phone. So as if it were like shorts feeds, but not. That's pretty cool. Haven't seen it do that yet. Also, the ability to reset the stream key and even copy the stream key during the stream. So that's interesting. Sammy, welcome. Good to see you here live on time. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. Oh, you're on the East Coast, aren't you? You're probably bracing for like some crazy storm right now. My mom's out in New Jersey, and it's like batten down the hatches. Make sure you have enough food. Get ready. Storm's coming. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Man, I'd miss it and I don't miss it. I miss being on the East Coast. I miss the snow. I miss seasons in general. Oh my God, Sammy says it's -9 degrees. I miss seasons in general. It's kind of hard to tell the passage of time throughout the year when it's just 75 and sunny all the time. Not that I'm complaining. Not complaining. I live in like one of the best weather places in the world out here in sunny southern Long Beach, California. Um, that being said, we have like two seasons. It's nice, and then we have fire season where everything catches on fire for a while, and then we also have like 2 weeks where it rains. And I was out of the country for those 2 weeks, so I missed most of it. Um, and I'll get to that in a moment here. You can see that I'm leaning on a box. This is nothing embargoed. Don't worry. I'm finally working on my review for, here, let's see, maybe I can lift this up and you can see without crashing into anything. There we go. So I'm working on my review of the UNAS Pro 8. It's been out for a little while, but finally getting around to doing it. And I say why in the video, but I was, shall we say, terrified to do it up until this point because I wanted to do it when production was shut down and things weren't completely crazy. Because I don't know if you noticed, but Ubiquity and others were still cooking, still cranking things out and releasing things left, right, and center at the end of the year there, way up until the very end. So I did not get my customary time to shut down towards the end of the year and reorganize and rebuild some stuff. I still got to rebuild the rack. As you can see, there's cables coming out of it and all over the place here. So that's definitely going to happen. But I am now working on this. And the reason for it is because, and I'll explain this in the video, but the reason for it is because well, my entire workflow now relies on the Ubiquity NAS, the original version, and I'm constantly moving files in and out of it on the regular, on the daily, and I didn't want to maybe screw that up until I was done with all the things I was working on. So we got past that, and I can't believe it's the third week of January, and this is the first time I'm streaming. So apologies for that. Looks like there's a couple of people in the audience here, so we'll get started. Welcome back to Tech for Work, my show where I go through basically all the things that I find interesting in business technology specifically. I would say every single week, but it's been, well, a month since I've done this. And I got to tell you, it is weird getting back into the flow of things. It is hard after not having been on camera for a month to jump back into it and get back into the personality and the extra oomph that I put into the videos and reviewing products and getting through the workflow of writing and researching and doing all that jazz. But in that time, I went on vacation with my family. I mostly unplugged. I did manage to test the Ubiquity travel router whilst on a plane, on plane Wi-Fi, and I paid for Wi-Fi and was able to share it amongst 7 devices while in the sky. So that does work. You can see my post about that over on my Twitter feed, although you may have to scroll back a little bit because it was on the 28th or the 29th of December. But it does work, and I continue to use my Ubiquity travel router while I was away and plugged it into the apartment Wi-Fi. Actually, I didn't even plug it in. I just connected it to the apartment Wi-Fi, and I was able to teleport back to my UDM Pro Max in the rack here, which is fantastic because turns out that not a lot of things that we're used to are available internationally for streaming. So, you international folks, I feel you. That was pretty painful, especially if you have kids, because my kids are used to watching Paw Patrol and Pete the Cat, although I think Pete the Cat might have been available over there. But also Gabby's Dollhouse, things like that. And a lot of that wasn't available on just even Prime Video and Netflix internationally. So, I got a kick out of and enjoyed using my new Ubiquiti travel router for that. Also, while I was away, the channel hit 15,000 subscribers. So thank you, first of all, to each and every one of you. Thank you to those who are listening to this live. Thank you to those who are listening to this on podcast platforms or after the fact, etc. Thank you for being a subscriber. Thank you for sticking around in the community. I've got some big things planned for this year, so let's get into that a little bit here. I am working on my doorbell comparison. You may have noticed I did not put out a what is this thing called, the G6 entry. I did not put out a G6 entry video. I did do just the regular doorbell light video. um Theoretically, the pro version of this is still outstanding, coming at some point. So I don't know if I'm going to wait for that to drop before I do my comparison video, or if I'll just compare this one to the light and to the G4 Pro, or if I'll wait until that one comes out, whenever that's going to be. I think it's supposed to be Q1 sometime. So still waiting on that to happen. As I mentioned, I'm working on the NAS Pro migration over here, and also the NAS 2, which I keep talking about and haven't done anytime recently. I also have a ton of products that really never made it into videos in the last year. For example, Thermal Master. They sent this over. Thank you very much to Thermal Master. This is so cool. I don't know if you've ever used like a proper thermal camera before, but this plugs in via USB-C to your phone, whether it's iPhone, Android, etc. And it's a thermal camera, and it's like this big. It's tiny. And so I'm going to do a video talking about this because I think that's super cool. And I'm actually going to start using it and integrating it into my reviews, because one of the questions I get asked on a number of my videos is, well, how hot does it get? It's like, well, if I'm transferring 20 some odd terabytes between this NAS and another NAS, let's point the thermal camera at it and actually get an idea of what that looks like. So I think that'll be an interesting new addition to the element there. Also, a shout out to these guys. Q looks like how it's spelled, Kuxiu. It's like cool show, I think is what it's supposed to stand for. They won multiple awards. You may have seen this thing around. I saw it on a couple of different platforms showing ads for it. It's a 3-in-1 phone, wireless watch, and wireless AirPods, headphones, etc. charger. And the watch thing is out over here on the back. I was skeptical because look at that. It's tiny. This thing is teeny tiny. It's really nice. It's aluminum. It's really rather lightweight, feels good in the hand, well built. But I was like, there's no way that this is going to charge my phone and my watch and my AirPods all at the same time. And even with the dbrand skin on the back there, the magnet is strong enough to hold it on there. And that's whoops. Shit. That's quite good. So overall, I have to say I am very impressed with this, and I will do a video on this because if I get sent something that I like, I do videos on these. I think it was like $75. They didn't pay me to say this, but well done to these guys. Name is hard to pronounce and remember, but other than that, this is a great little unit. It's Qi 2, 25 watts. So a video coming on that. And in the meantime, when I'm not traveling, I used it through my entire trip, by the way, abroad. When I'm not traveling, it sits on my desk, and that's where I put my phone when I'm doing the recordings here. So go and check that out. It's the X40 Turbo. Shout out to them, and a video coming on that. Sabrent just sent this over, so it looks like they're going to start sending me some stuff as well. I can never have enough charging power, like power to charge things. I have a power strip over here, and I'm constantly plugging more USB-C charging into it. So this actually has 8 individual USB-C power delivery ports for a total of 252 watts. So that's probably going to hold it over. As you can see, it's still in the wrapping. I haven't opened it yet, but Sabrent makes good stuff, so appreciate them sending it over as well. I also have a ton of Elgato gear that I've talked about in the past, so I'm going to be working on getting that out. I also have where is it over there? The Samsung Galaxy XR that I haven't done my review on it yet because I really felt it was not fair to do the review on that without buying an Apple Vision Pro, as I mentioned before. So I bought the Apple Vision Pro used, please. I don't have that kind of money. If somebody wants to sponsor me so that I can afford to buy more of these, go ahead, please let me know. But I now have spent a significant amount of time using both of those and using the X-Real glasses as well as the new X-Real 1S that just came out. I did a video on those. It wasn't very in-depth, just to kind of here's what it is video. So more to come on both of those. And then I also have, and this is more on the Superlink side from Ubiquiti, I have the Ubiquiti motion sensor and the entry sensor. So I'm going to go through and talk about these a little bit and do a video on these with Superlink. A weird thing happened while I was away, actually, with my Superlink. Both of my Protect all-in-one sensors, which was the original version before Superlink came out, but does work with Superlink, they died. I had two of them, one on the front door and one on my outdoor freezer. And when I left, they had decent battery, like more than 75%. And when I came back, they were just gone. They were just were not in like just totally offline. And I pushed the button on them, and it didn't make a damn bit of difference. So I don't know what happened there. Um, Something drained the battery on both of them. I was thinking maybe too much detections, like for motion. I don't think I have motion set on those. I don't know. It was weird. One's outside and one's inside. So it's not even like it was a temperature thing or a movement or the storms that came through. It was weird. They just both died at the same time. So I got to look into that. Meanwhile, I replaced the batteries and they came back online perfectly fine. No problem there. So glad to see that. But that being said, I also am looking forward to testing out both the entry and the contact motion. Sorry, motion and entry. The entry is the contact sensor one. I actually have that one a little bit unboxed so you can see just how big that is. Here's to give you an idea. Here's my can of seltzer that I drink while I'm broadcasting, and it's relatively tiny. Not as tiny as fine some of the other ones that are out there, but this has the ability to connect to Superlink, and they don't. So I'm a big fan of that. Gonna be playing around with that and doing more of a deep dive as that continues. So that's a little bit of what is to come this year. To give you a little bit more, I'm expanding kind of how I do reviews this year. I've done a lot of, hey, here's the thing. This is a really cool thing. Here it is. I really like doing that, but also then adding on, here's what it looks like installed. Here's how to install it. Here's the testing of using it, similar to what I've done with a lot of the Ubiquity stuff. And so, for example, I'm expanding my Ubiquity style into all of my other reviews and diving more into it with Ubiquity. So, for example, the story around the NAS is moving all of that storage. It's 20 some odd 20 yeah 19 terabytes, I think, moving from one to the other, and how to do that and what that's like and how long it takes, etc. As of right now, just setting up the initial RAID array took like 10 hours or something like that. So um going to be doing more in that direction. And so expect more in-depth videos that are more, telling the story and more engaging, as opposed to just, here's the product. Because I've done that, everybody's done that. I think with, especially with like AI coming, AI is going to start doing that. We don't need more people doing that. I'm going to do that because I do enjoy it, and that's part of the process, but also showing more so how it is installed and the story around it, and things like that. I also have a big ass battery to review, which is next to me on the floor, that I'm not going to pick up because it's massive. So I'll do some like, off the grid, what happens when, how do you survive, like that kind of should your data rack run on your network rack run on a battery backup of this caliber, etc. And how all that works. And I'll be doing all that obviously here in the studio. Also, I'm working on some creator gear stuff. So I mentioned the Elgato stuff. They have some new things coming as well that I'm really excited to play with. I've also got the studio now set up so that basically, at least the test rack is 10.5 gig across. I think most of the network for the rest of the production network is 2.5 gig. So doing some things, taking advantage of that as well, is I think going to be a fun way to test things going forward. And then other areas that I'm getting into is well, I should say back into, is the smart home space. I never really covered smart home here on the channel, but it's a deep passion of mine. And we're entering this era, or this stage of the smart home ecosystem right now, where it's getting good again. And we've been waiting for Matter to Matter and Matter and Threads and all that jazz, which used to be Chip and this and that and all the acronyms and whatnot. They're finally beginning to converge and finally getting good, where you can buy things and you pick it up and it says this works with Matter, etc. You can then make sure that it connects to Google Home, Apple Home, Smart Things, whatever. And then comes Amazon, and I have to look into this because I didn't really have time to read through this entirely. Then comes Amazon and goes, no, we're going to use Sidewalk Labs, or Sidewalk, which is their protocol that they invented, which is similar to kind of what Apple did with all of their phones, creating a mesh network between them for Find My. I think Google has a version of that as well now as well. Amazon said all of our smart home devices are now going to broadcast this low band radio frequency, something or other, so that basically any Amazon devices that you're walking past, if you've got stuff out in the wild, you'll be able to connect to that. So if you're using like a dog tracker or a package tracker, or yeah, I don't know what else is possibly out there. I think they were talking about the Blink cameras that they own at one point, utilizing that. I'm not sure if they do now, but there was an announcement that they're going to start working on that, and it's like we were so close. Like we were really getting there, and it was That's what we have been trying to do since 2014 when they first started coming up with this whole idea. Um, anyway, Amazon does have a ton of hardware coming. I think that despite what they're doing with Sidewalk, and I don't think that's, and maybe they're also doing Matter. I don't know. I got to look into it. Despite what's going on there, we're finally at a point where it's getting good. Ubiquity obviously is getting into some of the smart home, smart business monitoring. A lot of the products that are out there for smart home have now begun to move up market. So they're also business and enterprise friendly and capable. There's a lot more capabilities now that are in Home Assistant. Home Assistant is starting to work with Ubiquity a bit better. So I think it's a really good time to jump into that space. Also, if you remember, the all the AI assistants are getting supercharged by LLMs, right? By AI. So Gemini has it now. Alexa Plus is rolling out. Sorry if I just set off all of your Amazon devices, folks. That's rolling out on the Amazon devices. Siri is getting their act together, maybe. Siri is now Gemini, maybe. Sorry, just set off Siri on my phone. Sorry to all of you. Um, it's a little bit of a chaotic time, but things are coming together. And that's why I think now is a perfect time for me to jump back in to start getting more into how all this ties together, how all of that works, which protocol, this protocol, that protocol, what devices for what different things. I've already been into smart locks. I'm pointing over there because on my embargo closet, I have a smart lock that I'm reviewing. So stay tuned. If you like smart home tech, be sure that you are subscribed because a lot of stuff is coming down the pipe for that. So I'm pretty excited because it's been a long time since I played around with smart home stuff. I actually had my home completely set up on smart home back in 2000, I don't know, 2015, 16, something like that. I started with the what do you call it? The original Amazon Echo, and then I also got the Google little pod assistant thing that they had in the early days, and then I built out Smart Things. I had some stuff from Wise. I had a whole bunch of other companies, various companies' equipment that were maybe work, didn't work. Some had an app, some didn't have an app. Some were networked, some were not. I also bought a bunch of switches, so I was doing a lot of stuff on Z-Wave and connecting everything up through Zigbee and Z-Wave, and it just never really worked right. I had the bulbs, I had the sensors, I had the light switches, I had the fans. I had like it worked until things would start to break. And when one thing started to break, then somehow six other things started to fall off. And it just got so frustrating dealing with all of it that I gave up. And so now we're in 2026. It's nearly 10 years later, and the time has come to get back into that space. And so that's why I'm really excited about it because I really do love all the smart home tech. I actually can't even take advantage of some of the best things of smart home because you're watching the movies or you're watching all the demo videos that they do of these, and it's ambience, smart, intelligent home, whatever. You walk into a room, the lights turn on. You walk out of the room, the lights turn off. You walk into a different area, it turns on the heat because it knows that you're there, etc. I can't use a lot of that because um, being Jewish, I'm not able to use a lot of that automatic motion sensing stuff on the Sabbath, on Shabbos. And some other folks in the audience who I know are listening have a similar problem. And I actually got asked at the Ubiquity conference, dude, how do you deal with this? And I'm like, honestly, it's a challenge because I can only use 80% of the cool features that come with a product because 20% of them I just can't have them on from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday night. Now, we're getting to a point where I might be able to start scheduling that to say, okay, I want these to work all of these times except then. And so now it's a if then it's a a little bit more AI infused to be able to use natural language to put these things together. It's becoming a lot easier for folks. So I'm hoping that we'll have more availability in those things in those areas, and then I'll be able to take advantage of those things. The rest of the time, like if you get up in the middle of the night because your kid's crying and you put your feet down on the floor, then you have the underbed LED lighting come on, and then you don't wake yourself up because you can see where you're walking, but the lights do come on. You can you wake yourself. You don't wake yourself up. Sorry, but you are able to see where you're walking in the middle of the night, and also without waking up your wife, etc., which is kind of important. One of us has to sleep at some point, right? So yeah, hoping that's where that goes and where we get on that. Some of the other stuff that I have going on this year is obviously Starlink. We also have the expansion of not just Starlink, but Amazon has what was called Project Kuiper is now called Project, or sorry, not Project, it's just called Amazon Leo, which is A, really nice and easy to remember, and B, it's a little joke because Leo is lower Earth orbit, which is where all of this stuff is located. So, well done on the branding there. To Amazon. And then we got an announcement from Blue Origin just this week saying that they're building one of their own. And I say, great, bring on the competition. I haven't seen Amazon start shipping their Leo dishes yet. I know that they're still working on getting the satellites up there, ironically, sometimes using SpaceX to launch them, which is pretty funny. Um, but I do know that they're working on it. So when those are coming out, I will be getting them and I'll be reviewing them and doing some head to heads, taking them out up into the mountains where I've done some of my other videos and covering more of that space from there. Another thing that seems to be kind of cranking up here already in the new year is towards the end of last year in December time, yeah, early December-ish. I think I told you about this. I went out to do a super cool um, Google Developer Expert (GDE), which is that plaque over my shoulder here, the program for folks that don't work for Google but are involved in the community and giving back and teaching people and so on. We did this event where we went out to a racetrack and we tried to build an AI racing coach that would, in real time and also not in real time, give feedback and help coach the driver to make them into a better driver. And the question was, well, can you, A, do something that's better than what is currently available in the market, state of the art from Garmin? And B, how does it do a post lap or post race analysis versus an actual professional coach? That video is just about done. I'm putting the final touches on it. It was 300 gig of video. I filmed it with 6 cameras over a day. It was a lot of planning, a lot of research, a lot of writing, and it's a really cool kind of high octane. If you like race cars and you like AI, you don't have to know very much about either of them, but they obviously both show up in there, and it's gonna be pretty fun. And we're gonna do a part two because we didn't exactly succeed. So you'll have to watch the video when it comes out in the next couple of weeks to see what I mean by that and how that all fell out. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. It was a lot of fun. So I'm hoping to do more videos like that. And then, of course, we have Google Next and Google I/O coming soon. Google Next available. Tickets are available now. They are on sale. If you haven't gotten one, I do recommend doing it if you are in the Google and AI space. It's a phenomenal conference. It's a great time, and it's in Vegas. Some people hate Vegas. Personally, I love it when events are in Vegas because it's a hop, skip, and a jump for me to get out there, and it's literally shorter for me to get in a plane, fly to Vegas and be on the ground than it is for me to drive to some places in Los Angeles, especially during rush hour. So, um, big fan of events that are in Vegas, and hoping to go and cover more of those this year as well, and kind of bring you more of the vloggy style travel events. Now, I have a question for all of you. Speaking of vloggy style, um, I I'm not putting anything behind a paywall. I don't want to. I want to put that out there right now. I'm still of the mind that subscribe to the channel, like all the videos, etc. Turn on notifications. That's how you make sure that you get all of my content. I, if I'm making content, I want it out there for everybody. I'm not. I don't feel that I'm big enough yet or that I have the bandwidth to create even more exclusive content to start doing so. I mean, 15,000 subscribers is pretty big, but we've got a long way to go. And hopefully I'll get to 20 and then 30 and then 100. Then I'll get a plaque, which will be pretty cool. And then maybe I'll start thinking about, I don't know, maybe at some point. But the fact is, I like making content. When I make content, I like to share it with everybody. And a big part of where and how my content is shared is discovery, is algorithms. Somebody is searching, how do I do X, Y, and Z on something on Ubiquity? How do I charge my iPhone? How do I do this with Starlink? All of those things are Google searches. And so I don't really want to put that behind a paywall or make it exclusive. If you're here, I appreciate you. You know, sometimes you watch all of my videos, sometimes you don't. Some are more relevant to you than others. So I'm not doing that. The question that I have for all of you is if I started filming more just kind of behind the scenes, on the go, here's what's going on, here's additional info that's not polished enough to go into a proper video and not edited into a proper video, but more of a vlog, did this, did that, some of my ramblings and thoughts of, off the cuff while I'm doing that, and some extra information behind the scenes. What gear did I use? Why did I go then? What happened, etc. Would that be interesting to you? I have a lot to say. I don't always say it on camera because I just don't have necessarily the bandwidth to put all of that into, like I said, a polished video and at the caliber of that type of video. But if I put it into, say, a vlog, which would be in addition to this show, would that be something you would want? Please let me know in the comments. I'm curious. What do you want to see from me? I'm doing a lot. I'm all over the place. I'm busy. I am attempting to do an average of 2 videos a week this year, which is a little bit crazy. Um, but I think I can do it. As it is for Google Next alone, I did 7 videos last year. That was 4 days, so cranked all that out. It was a little bit more than 4 days because I did the leading up to and what to expect when you go, etc. But I think I can do it. That being said, I've done 2 videos this month, so I have a little bit of catching up to do already and getting myself behind. Um, but I think it's doable, especially once I ramp up. And Ubiquity had a crazy year last year, and looking at their entire lineup, and again, I don't really know much beyond like what everybody saw at the conference. Um, I don't actually know anything beyond the conference. The conference is pretty much everything I know here, because that's where they talk about the cool things. So if you were in the conference, then you know basically what I know. They have a huge lineup of products. And so my feeling, and again, this is not from anything behind the scenes. My feeling is they're going to move hard and fast this year. They're going to cook. They have a lot of products to update. They're just going to keep on moving. It got to the point where it was 1 or 2 products a week at the end of the year there. So lots of stuff going on there. Very busy. But I think that with that combined with all the other areas that I'm in, from the excitement that's happening now in the XR space to smart home to Google and AI and events, I think I'm going to have a absolute ton of content this year. So that's my plan. I'm just going to flood it. We're going to go with quantity instead of quality. Just kidding. Hopefully the quality stays up to my current caliber and continues to get better. I do try to get a little bit better in each of my videos, but that's kind of where I'm feeling for this year. There's a lot of things that kind of fell by the wayside in the past year. If you have watched my other live videos, 1 second, I'm just going to turn on the air conditioning in here because all this gear I'm literally sitting next to the fans is starting to get hot. But in one of my lives, I don't know, a month or two ago, I broke down. I didn't break down. I broke down what has been going on with my daughter, who has a now what is known as a lifelong genetic condition. She has a partial gene deletion that basically makes her learning things much more difficult. Uh, Whereas a normal kid would take something that needed 5 times repeating to learn it, she needs, you know, 10 or 15 times repeating it for her to learn it. And so there's been a lot of diagnoses and figuring out like why she delayed and so on. She's 3. Um, and it's totally random. It wasn't, anything that we did or could have prevented or genetic or anything. It just sometimes things click or don't click, and that's how it goes. And so, um, if I go dark for a little while, like I have been, or I'm not making as much content, that's why. It's because I'm ramping up something with her. The next 3 weeks, I'm going to be with her every single day, Monday to Friday, in a 5 hour long intensive therapy session. She's not doing it for all 5 hours. We had to be there for 5 hours. She'll take a nap in the middle. I'll get some work done, etc. Um, Thankfully, I don't have to be engaged in all of that, like the therapists that are doing their jobs. I don't have to be there when they're doing that, so I can work while I'm doing that, which is also another reason why I got both the Vision Pro and the Galaxy XR, so I can work in those headsets, similar to how I've done it with the X Real headsets, and we look forward to continue doing that with the X Real headsets. And in the minute X Real puts out the Android XR in the glasses headset, I'm going to be very happy because these things are heavy. These headsets are heavy to use them. But anyway, that's what's been going on with that. And last year, because there was so much more to figure it out and diagnose it and all of the different sessions and doctors and neurologists and all that jazz, that took a lot of extra time. And so that's where the times where I was like, hey, I'm ramping up, I'm rocking and rolling, then it wasn't. That's what was going on instead. So I'm hoping that this year I will have less difficulty with that, and they'll become more strategic and more templated, so I'll be able to say, okay, I know that this is my schedule, this is where it's happening, this is what we're doing. I'm going to be able to schedule these things out, and then I'll be able to continue the high paced cadence that I've set for myself. That being said, just so you know, if I don't, that's why. Not making excuses. That's just what's going on. So that's pretty much the major things as far as content goes. As far as the rest of the community, I want to ask you a question. Should I ramp things back up on the community side? The Slack channel has been Well, most of you probably don't even know about it because when I was promoting it, TabGeeks was a very different operation. I was focused mostly on Google stuff and Google Workspace, and I think that I would like to make it into more of a like a place for IT professionals to hang out. Would you like me to bring that back? I was doing a newsletter. I got 500, 600 people on a newsletter that I was doing every week. Similar to some of the news that I was covering in the show. Should I bring that back? What's next? What would you like to see? What would work for all of you? My goal is to be a tremendous resource for IT professionals, prosumers, um, managers, directors, people that are testing out all this gear and learning about all this gear and trying to understand how all this works and all the different verticals that I report on. And so, let me know in the comments if this would be super helpful for you, or if there's something I'm not thinking of that I can be helpful with. 2026 for me is not about buying or receiving all of these new toys, although I do love it and I do appreciate it. And I really hope that more and more brands start sending me more things so that I can continue doing what I do. But it's also about being a resource for the community and building systems that don't break and being able to make things more reliable, as well as stress testing things where I can. Obviously, I'm not a 1,000-person company. I'm a one-man show over here, but I do have the ability to test a lot of these things in these environments, and trying to just show off how to build a resilient infrastructure. A lot of stuff that I do is about what happens when the grid fails, what happens when the internet goes offline. A lot of things we do are on the internet. What do you do? That's where the batteries come in and Starlink comes in and things like that. So that's basically the gist of where I'm going this year. Again, if you have questions for me, if you have things that you want me to cover, let me know. At that, I think I'm going to get back to work here because I have to finish this video and all of the other things that I mentioned in the beginning here. So, East Coasters, it's cold. It's going to snow. I think it's even more than just the East Coast. I think it's like the Southeast, the whole area over there, to bring it back around to where we were in the beginning of this show here. Sammy and others, stay warm, stay dry, stay fed, keep the heat on, make yourself a soup or a stew or something hearty. Um, and good luck shoveling all that snow. Have a great weekend, everybody. And as always, thanks for joining.